Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly we've been left to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward, the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Ela Szilvassy. Ela is an expat, ex-people pleaser, ex-good girl, building a business to show the world that what used to be too much is exactly what builds empires. Her personal healing journey brought her to become an EFT tapping practitioner, and she now helps other women scale their businesses in a way that doesn't burn them out or make them abandon themselves. Ela, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Before we look behind the scenes today, can you share with us a little bit more about the work that you do?
Yeah, definitely. I am passionate about supporting women growing their business in a way that doesn't burn them out in the long run. Because what I see a lot of times in today's coaching space is that women burn their nervous systems in the name of discipline. But what's really required when growing a business is more than just strategy, is like being able to not flinch in a sales call when you're with a client, so we don't discount your prices, like when the client goes silent for 2 seconds. Things like that have nothing to do with strategy. They have to do with the conditioning. And this is the kind of stories I work with my clients, so that we basically unshame all the layers of conditioning that make them abandon themselves in the name of business, so that they get to scale their business to and past 6 figures without burning out. So I like to say it's about making them more like cats, because cats are these creatures they are perfectly fine with who they are. They don't desire to be dogs. Instead, they claim the space and they give zero fucks about how inconvenient it is for you. Like, they knock the status quo off the table, not give a shit. And this is the kind of audaciousness that's required to build a business and to grow a business. So yeah, I would very much like to be more like a cat myself as well.
Is the main way that you typically work with people one-on-one?
This is what I prefer because the one-on-one has the most depth. But I also have a group container, which I'm currently launching. So I'm super excited about this one as well, because there I get to teach people this amazing tool that helped me transform my life, and how they can leverage it in business. So I do both, but I do prefer one-on-ones because there's the depth that is not even possible in a group container, because it's a different kind of safety that's required to go into really deep end of the pool of like the realm of root causes and all of that. So this is the kind of safety that is built in a one-on-one space. Yes.
And is most of your work virtual right now?
Yes, I wanted it to be virtual. I spent in my previous business, I was tied to a location, so I had to be there at a certain time and like all of that. And I wanted this time and space freedom. This is why I'm only building this business online. Um, so yes, there are pros and cons to both. But yeah, for now, I enjoy being able to be in my pajama all day, and if I want to or not, like I get to show up however I want. No one even knows. And yeah, from the comfort of my own home, it's what I needed. It's yeah.
The clients that you connect with, that you have connected with in the past in this version of your work and your business, or that you have now, where do you generally find them?
Yeah, we on Instagram, it's basically through content, through relationship building. I'm all about relationships. So yeah, the best clients come from like the conversations that are happening behind the scenes, usually through content, because something resonates, something lands deeply, something reminds them of something else. This is how conversations start. And I try to be as human as possible in this crazy world of strategy and messaging and all of that, which tends to sound all the same. I like in the back end of the business, in the DMs, I tend to be as me as possible and like really building those human connection first, like having those conversation as a human rather than a coach. Because I've experienced conversations myself as well where you felt like a bait from the first moment. And it just felt like something I wasn't willing to do. Like, even if I never get to the point where I ask you to join my world in any way, shape, or form, it's more about even the fact that I want to be surrounded by people that I'm genuinely aligned with. I want the people that I'm passionate to work with in my world, right? So this is also a way to like check the fit before the official consultation, right? So I think that's the most potent way to get clients is to be you and to like give value even before they are even clients.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the pillars of the work that I do with people as well, helping them see and restructure the way that they approach building their business from the old way, which generally was like a hunter, which makes sense because it was mostly men working and running these jobs, and that is more suited to their nervous system. So it's not that that way is wrong, but for most of us, especially women, especially building the types of businesses that we're building, which are heart-led, mission-driven, we need an approach that is more in alignment with our nervous systems. And so, simply speaking, using more the metaphor of gardening. And exactly what you said is one of the core tenets or pillars to that, which is it's all about cultivation and cultivating community. Every day showing up, having the authentic conversations, providing real value, making real connections. The people will become clients who are meant to become clients. But if you are approaching everything as if every conversation, the goal of it is to get a client, it takes you so out of whack. Again, it's not that's wrong. It's just if it worked for us, it would be working for all of us and we would be seeing all of this success and we would be thriving and we would be happy. But it's not. It doesn't really work, but also it doesn't feel good on our nervous systems. We feel like something's off. So everything that you have said, I couldn't agree more. It's exactly how I teach people how to approach building as well, is like authentic conversation, real conversations, provide value in every interaction. That is what you're there to do. Help, provide value. It will all work out just like the garden. The garden will come and it's going to come in time and things will start fruiting and things will start budding, but you cannot rush that process. So what you do is you show up to your garden, you show up to your business, you show up to your work, you show up to those conversations every day and you put that time in. You tend to the network of concerns, you have the conversations, you nurture whether that specific plant or that flower ends up blooming or fruiting in 3 months or not. That isn't the point. The point is that you're tending to your community, you're cultivating that space, you're cultivating that and you're nourishing it. And if it's your community, your wisdom is one of the wisdom and the value that you provide is one of the key ingredients to the nourishment. It's so important. Everything that you said, yeah, I couldn't agree with more.
Yeah. Definitely if I can reflect on some of the things that you've said, it's about the energy behind the conversation, right? Because if you approach the conversation with the transactional energy, this is felt even if they or even you as someone in a position where when someone else treats you as a dollar sign, there's something about it. Maybe you cannot quite put your finger on it, but it stings, it's icky, it's sticky, it doesn't feel good, right? And a lot of times, even if you're like nurturing the connection for a few months, like even a flower, before you see the flower, like the roots are spreading below the ground and you cannot see that process. But it has to happen before you can see the external result, right? So yeah, it's about the consistency and showing up and like reminding the people that you're there, that you care about their transformation. Like even I myself, as I invested in a mentor when I thought they really cared about me, when they gave value, when they responded to my story, not with just with fire emoji and skyrockets, because that I'm allergic to that, but like they genuinely cared. They gave me advice that like other people didn't like, and I actually got to experience what it's like if I paid for her support, then this means I'm getting this on a daily basis. It made me feel something before I invested. I felt like I was cared for. And like this is again also the reason why I felt called to invest, because it I knew that this is the kind of mentor I want to be, and who better to learn from than someone who did that with me and it felt good. So yeah, definitely all the experiences you've had, and like in and even your own practice as a learning curve, right? In the beginning, you'll get some no's, you'll fail miserably, you'll do things wrong, and even you'll know it wasn't the best and all of that. But like next time you won't do the same mistake. So it's everything happens for a reason in the least cliche way possible. But like really, it's if it's not a successful story, it's a lesson. So you get to grow. This is the only way to grow.
When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and your business?
Yeah, I am very humble when it comes to goals. I just want consistent revenue which can sustain me and my lifestyle, because I actually quit my business 6 months ago. So I'm in the beginning stages of this business and like really doing all the things that are necessary to like bring in clients and all of that, to gain the right visibility, to like put myself out there. Yeah, in the 6 months, I would just like to be, how to say that, self-sufficient, or yeah,
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 sustainable, financially sustainable. I mean, all of the things, sustainability. When I say building sustainable businesses, I think that's financial. I think it's energetic. I think it's being in a business that you want to be in and you want to keep doing because it's paying your bills and it's supporting your life, but it also feels good on your nervous system and it feels sustainable long term, energetically, and all the things. So, yeah, I would say that's everything that you said, although it is seemingly humble. I think it's the most vital goals to have, like true sustainability, like honest, true sustainability. I think if we could all get there, I think we would see that everything works and the world is a better place if we are reaching that point.
yeah.
What do you feel like you need to do to get to that point of, let's just say, a base level of consistent client flow?
Really just put myself out there and build relationships. And that's my primary goal right now, to just show up on podcasts, show up on lives, communicate to different people, get to know people. Like you never know when collaborations are born, right? You never know where your next client is waiting for you and all of that. And if I may just reflect on what you said before, definitely like having a business in which I get to live, in which I don't have to bend my spine to get, because I've been in a situation where I actually had to bend my spine into a question mark, not just figuratively speaking, but also physically. And I just want a business that in which I can exist, the business that allows me to live my life, to have my slow mornings. Yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's not really humble. It's maybe just not like the way people imagine, like I want 7-figure villa and all of that luxury. I'm not that person. Yeah, I do want the level of a standard, but it looks different. But yeah, what I wanted to say is just, yeah, having this emotional like time and space freedom where I get to do whatever, excuse me, the fuck I want. Like this is like one of the top goals. And like I am not really too concerned about like how that will look like. I'm just like, I know what my non-negotiables are, and I haven't really given myself a lot of other options. And also, like, there's nothing but belief that things will work out. Like, it doesn't matter if it takes me like 3 months or 6 months. I don't really care because I know why I'm doing this. And yeah, every time I have hardships, I just remind myself of things like why am I doing this? Like why have I started this in the first place? Like when I have like moments of doubt and fear and like, you know, all the potential judgment that can happen when you put yourself out there, I'm just like the only people that are judging are the people who are sitting on the couch and watching Netflix. Would you trade places? No, you wouldn't. So you don't get to care about their opinions and things like that. So it's more about conquering myself rather than anything else, and like really being present with all the thoughts, let's say the negative ones that come up, and just be like, okay, like what is this part of me that's afraid of XYZ, trying to prevent? What is this part? Like, what does this part remember that I'm not consciously aware of? Like, when have I felt this way before? And like, really building a business in a body led way so that, like, I don't just fry my nervous system in the name of discipline, but that I also get to listen, like, where my body is putting the brakes when I consciously want to grow. And so it's the constant balance. So honestly, I just think, and not just for myself, honestly, for every entrepreneur, I think I've made a decision with myself today that like I'm not investing in strategy anymore. You need foundations, you need like messaging and strategy. But when you have that, you need yourself. And that will move every strategy, because it's not usually about the fact that you don't know what to do. It's the resistance, it's the fucking heaviness, the procrastination, the avoidance, is those behaviors that have nothing to do with strategy. Any strategy can work. I would even argue that no fucking strategy can work rather than like a dysregulated nervous system and 10 different strategies. It's just hard and it's not sustainable. So that's the only thing that will get me the results, is like really being mindful of what my nervous system is trying to say, and like really tending to those stories and shifting those on a body level.
Totally. In addition to that, like dysregulated nervous system, on your path of entrepreneurship, is there anything that has felt especially unclear or uncertain?
When it comes to strategy, growth,
Yeah, I mean, I guess any of it. You already tackled and covered really well, like the breakdown of nervous system, right? It's like, and this does come up a lot with people, which is we are the way showers of well-being. Like we are practitioners, we are the experts. We have to walk the walk when it comes to not throwing our wellness and our well-being out the door just because we have become entrepreneurs, which is the old kind of traditional way of doing it, which is like you're an entrepreneur now work, 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 do all the things, bend your neck, bend over backwards, disregard your health, your well-being, your relationships, your family, your sleep, your all of the things, because now you're an entrepreneur and you have to build and you have to do all these things and you have to just like be relentless. Like we can't do that even though we are entrepreneurs, because we are also meant to be the way showers for others about how to live a life and accomplish our goals and have careers and have families and do it holistically and healthily. And so that is absolutely, you already nailed that one, of like that is absolutely such a hurdle, I guess, coming out of that conditioning. Is there anything else? It could be strategy. It could be something else on the behind the scenes that has felt heavier than it should or heavier than you thought it would before you went like full on entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think the content piece in terms of now everything I want to say gets filtered through like, is this positioned well enough? Is this said in a way that my ideal client will resonate with? And in the end, it sounds nothing like me. And it's like everything feels harder than it needs to be, I think. So I'm trying to really, okay, now I know the content framework, but I'm trying to find the balance between here's what I want to say. Let's make it hyper specific. Let's cover all the pillars of the effective copy, but let's not try to look at start with this and then continue with this. Like, it's boring. It's not how I usually tend to explain things. And like, this was the piece that it was hard for me to swallow, because in the end it felt like swallowing broken glass, because it felt like noise, not even my words anymore. So this is, I think, the piece that I used to enjoy a lot. And I'm like finding my way back into like how to make it clear enough for my ideal client and how to make it hyper specific and at the same time enjoy while creating it. So this is the one piece that was like a struggle for me. But I also believe that you have to go through this journey before you can find your way, right? Because without the messaging and the content that is actually landing, you don't have a business to scale. So it is important to know the foundations, but I also think that you have to find your way in the end.
Totally. I mean, this is absolutely one of the biggest patterns that comes up when people say, what's the hardest thing? Content, putting myself out there, finding the visibility, but actually doing the content. And, I think what you ended with is a valuable, really valuable tidbit about like, you kind of need to get in there and like sort it out and find it. But I think, one of the things that I experienced when I was trying to run my practice for so many years was that the more it's the double-edged sword of becoming more of an expert in something is that it ironically takes you further from where your client likely is. And then it's like, wait a second, how do I talk now? Because now I'm like, your conversations change. You become an expert. You see through that lens. And then it's so hard to remember the lens and the conversations that you were in at the beginning, and like it's that ironic kind of double-edged sword of becoming so good at something and going deeper into the work and becoming more qualified, but then how to connect with and message across the gap of like where your ideal clients are. It's so hard.
Yeah. And I had to go through an exercise that wanted to basically demonstrate like, how do you talk to someone who's like, basically the exercise was, how do you explain normal things to people who lived 500 years ago? Like, some things are just impossible. Like, it's so hard. Like, how do you explain what an oven is if they didn't even know electricity, for example, or something like that? So sometimes with clients, it's the same, because maybe your evolution is like way ahead of theirs, and it's hard to even remember what their pain points are. Like, yeah, there's also one thing that I also think that evolves over time. Even like my ideal clients, I think, changed 3 times in this 6 months, because as I grow, like the things that I resonate with, and I go through my ideal client spreadsheet, and like things are changing, because I'm like, yeah. So this is also one piece, like it's not like graved into the stone. Like, things get to change and you get to adapt them as you grow. And basically, the thing that you're the most passionate about in the moment becomes your content. And it is usually created around this one step ahead of your ideal client. So as you grow, your ideal client will grow as well. And even if someone else outside of the, let's say, the rules comes into your world and says, I want to work with you, they definitely resonated with something. Like content is in the end just like how you narrow the pool of like someone is able to recognize themselves and in your content, but like it doesn't matter that like maybe a person of the opposite gender will see themselves in it or whatever.
Totally. I think that one of the points that you're bringing up isn't talked about enough, that you said that your ideal client has shifted already 3 times in 6 months. It's not talked about enough how that is actually such an important, vital, necessary part of being at the beginning and being in the startup phase. People thinking, oh no, well, it changed, something's wrong. It's like, no, because there's only so much that you can do hypothetically by yourself. You can start narrowing down a target client and an ideal client, but all of those nuances you're going to get when you actually start talking to people. You're going to have real conversations. You're going to maybe have a client or two, and you're going to actually see in real time the nuances. And usually by the time you are nailing that ideal client, it's coming down to stuff that you couldn't ever have thought about on your own, just doing a hypothetical thing. It's coming from real conversations, real people over and over again. You start seeing the patterns, matching the patterns, being like, oh, okay, now I see this. And usually that final, or is it ever final? But once you really get to nail that ideal client, a lot of the things that makes all of your clients your perfect client comes down to similarities in the problems that they have. And the only way you really get that, those nuances, are from being on the court in real time, having the conversations, matching the patterns, following a thread. Like, you can't do that on your own in an exercise. You have to actually be doing the real work. And the pivots and the changes, those are good. That means you're actually doing the real work, learning, narrowing it down, and getting closer to like finding a sweet spot.
Yeah. And what came up for me as you were telling me this is like ChatGPT is not a human. So yeah, while it's helpful, it will never give you the level of detail you get from actual clients. So yeah, it's helpful for sure, but yeah, it's not the best business strategy.
I think it's finding that balance isn't the right word, but understanding that tools like that, like the exercises, the worksheets, ChatGPT, will support you for some amount, let's say 30%, 40%. The rest will have to be done in real time. So it's just remembering to not get sucked away or not let it get, those proportions get ungrounded. It's like you can't lean too far into one thing. Yes, it's going to be a help, but in my experience with myself and with clients, it's like 30, 40%. Like, you can do some really good work there to get you started and then help you fine tune things. But the bulk of that work, that 50%, that 60%, like, that's going to come in real conversation. So my general pattern that I see is I might have an idea, I might run it through AI in some capacity at the beginning, then I'm with real people having real conversations. And then again, at the end, I can like fine tune it, let it help me with that data. But it's just remembering that, yeah, it's tools. But at the end of the day, there are things that absolutely cannot be bypassed. And the real conversations with real people is something that can never be replaced.
Yeah, and the messy action as well, right? So you aren't perfect at everything you do for the first time. So like it's just you like I am a proponent of resolving the all the what ifs and like why not before you get into something that feels really scary for you. But it doesn't mean that you'll be fearless. It just means that the fear or whatever the emotion that's preventing you from taking the action is will be like lesser in the intensity, and it will be easier for you to say, okay, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. So even if I make a fool of myself, even if I fail, even if I say something wrong, all of the things are easier when you process all the what ifs and why nots. And yes, but this part of the like figuring the business out like isn't avoidable. It's part of the process. It's the only way you learn how to do better.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Before we wrap up our conversation, I want to ask you about the cost. What's the cost to you, to others, to the world if you're not able to get your work to where you want it to be, which originally is just sustainable client flow, but then beyond that into reaching the people that you feel like you are here to reach and support?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's just a matter of time. Like really the cost is time in the first place, because I think the goal is like reachable no matter like whether in 3 months, in 1 year, it doesn't even matter at this point. But yeah, it costs a lot not to do something you're passionate about. I can speak from experience when I say that, because I spent too much time in a business which I absolutely hated, simply because other I didn't know what else to do. I had bills to pay, and it cost me burnout. And so, um, like a lot of people think that burnout is just like when you work too hard or too much or whatever, but this couldn't be further from truth. Burnout happens when you're misaligned and when you're growing against like what your purpose is, when your body is screaming, abort, we don't want to do this anymore, and you do it anyway. So this would actually be a huge cost, because that would then mean that I had to find something else to do to pay my bills before I figure this out. But yeah, that is actually a huge cost, which I don't know. I've never actually been employed, so it would be a horrible thing, even if just for a while. I'm not sure people are actually aware how much it costs to like grow something against your body, and like the the things you have to do to unfuck the burnout you've gotten yourself into. I can tell you that like it's been a year and my memory is not yet back. Like I lost my period, like it was severe. You don't want to get yourself in a position where you don't remember like what yesterday was about. Like actually long term, short term memory is zero. To lose your period, it sucks, right? Yeah, it's not just about like I know like for it, it is possible to just grind and to push through the resistance and all of that for a short time. But honestly, I'm since I've experienced this, I'm no longer willing to like gamble with my health. I'd rather take more time than fry my nervous system and like ruin it to the ground in the name of success.
It's I mean, it's everything at a certain point. The cost is everything. It's too big, really, to put into words what it is to, like you said, be out of alignment. Is there anything else that you want to add today before we finish?
No, thank you for this conversation. I feel like this space needs more honest and vulnerable conversations like this, less things that are staged and filtered through the strategy and all of that. Because in the end, like the most helpful thing is knowing that you're not alone and that everyone goes through the same journey, just no one actually talks about. And I am quite fortunate to have two very good friends like ahead of me in this journey, so that I get to ask someone like, did you also feel this way, so that they can normalize things for me. And if you don't have that, you can feel very lonely, and it can be very challenging time growing a business, because you have to show up even when like you want to hide, even when nothing seems to be working. Like these are all the things that you have to get yourself through, and it's easier with the right support. So thank you for cultivating conversations like this.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And thank you again for joining me today to have this conversation. For me, it's been an honor. And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you. And if you want to reach Ela directly, the link to her Instagram profile is in the show notes. Thank you again, Ela, and to everyone else. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.